Okay, yes, I want to talk about that. So first, welcome back. It has been a long, long time.
Sorry about that. That's on
He
me.
was kind of up to a few things. We'll get to that in a minute here.
Yeah.
Okay, so just a few things before we get started. Tonight we're doing 10% off all Christmas books, and if you are a grandparent or a new grandparent,
Well, at first she said seniors,
Ooh,
and I was
did
like,
you have to
not all grandparents are seniors. Oops. Can we change that?
See, this is why she has all the good ideas. Welcome. Have a seat. So if you are a grandparent tonight, you will get 10% off absolutely everything. Okay, and then also in the lounge, we call it the lounge here, you're welcome to help yourself to coffee and tea and treats. We have a few extra. There's also a draw in there for grandparent books. So make sure you don't have to be a grandparent or a senior for this draw. You can just put your name in and we will draw it before the end of the evening.
And the people online too.
Yes, if you're watching online and you want to participate in the draw, we have a different draw for you so that those of us here won't take your prize. And we have a coupon code. The coupon code is...
I don't know, you made it.
Now here's where I have to come up with a good idea. The coupon code is grandparent24. And if you... so if you make a comment on this YouTube stream, just make a comment that you're watching, and then that will qualify you for the online draw, which is going to be different than the in-store draw. Okay, and then there's also, just so we know, we're actually going to do a mini makers market here in the bookstore. We had such high demand for the makers market. Unfortunately, we can't get the space that we had last year. But Adrienne is going to pull it off because she's that good. So
we've mapped it out in here, up here, downstairs.
She's going to pull this off.
See.
So that will be on a Saturday, December the 14th. We'll be open from 11 o'clock, the Makers Market from 11 to 3. The bookstore will open a little longer so we can do more shopping. So if you know anyone who wants to do Saturday shopping, you want Saturday shopping, December 14th. And there will be the mini makers market. And then online, this weekend, we have free shipping. And so it's not Boxing Day, it's not that far.
Black
Friday.
Friday,
thank you. Black Friday, we are doing free shipping online. So there is a code. Email us if you don't have the code, because I don't know the code.
I don't remember it.
Okay, so
I made that one.
Let's just
I don't remember.
It's on Instagram. Email us.
It's only in the email. You have to be subscribed.
You have to subscribe.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right. You did actually say that.
Yeah. So, okay, let's move on.
Okay.
So this evening, we are going to hear from Adrienne and her mom, Val. Valerie. So, Valerie Scott here. She is recently a great grandmother. We're going to hear more about that. And Adrienne, she has been working with me for ever. And she has so much wisdom on this subject. And so together with her mom, they're going to share with us tonight what it is like to be the grandparent when your children are homeschooling.
Well, welcome here. Finally. I was very sick at the end of September, so I had to cancel on you for that one. I think a lot of you came anyway and just sort of hung out and shopped. And then my oldest daughter had her first grandbaby on October 24th, which was the makeup day for the September one that I canceled. So I did not put together. And so, yeah, she had a very long labor between that pre-labor, early labor, I didn't have to share all of that. She ended up laboring at our house for a long time. And then, because they live in Chilliwack, and she was giving birth in Abbotsford, and so it was a whole thing, but very exciting. So as many of you know, I have 7 children. I have really is going to touch on grandparenting in general. and being a homeschool granny or being a granny to a homeschool family. But there is also this other story that kind of lingers behind what we're going to talk about, and that is how God has healed our relationship, because it wasn't always what it is now.
What you see today.
Yeah. And that I'm not sure how much we'll go into that. I'm happy to talk about it if anybody wants to talk about it afterwards with me, with both. But it really is a testimony to our good and gracious and faithful God, that he can take something that was really broken and make it new and better.
Amen.
Yeah. So now you have to tell us about you, because they know about me, so you need to tell them.
And my son said that I could bring notes. He said, I never go into a meeting, Mom, without notes. So he'll be good.
I love it.
Well, anyways, I know I'm supposed to introduce myself. So first of all, I will let you know that I have been a widow for almost 31 years. We raised our two children, Adrian and her younger brother Ryan, in Pitt Meadows, and they both attended public school. We were a non-Christian family. I accepted the Lord as my Savior in 2002 and was baptized in 2003. And have just been able to walk very closely with him, and just been an amazing friend, partner, everything that I could ever need. I worked as a care aide in Maple Ridge. I retired in 2007 at 60, so if you really want to do the math. And I worked with dementia and Alzheimer's care. That's where I specialized, and now I live in a seniors building, and there are dementia and Alzheimer's people all there, but it's my home. I was very fortunate. I did a lot of traveling after I was widowed from 1994. Lots of beautiful trips. I came home from a big cruise beginning of March, and we went into COVID, and that was in June. I was diagnosed with stage 4 cancer, and they, said that they would do everything to make me comfortable, and here I am. The story is I had chemo, I had surgery, I had chemo, I had radiation, I had an amazing Christian surgeon at PGH who fell out. And so my hair and getting a few tingles in the bottom of my feet. I'm in a study. They decided that they would keep me in this study for 5 years, so I have another 2.5 years to go. And so they do the CT scans, they do the blood work, they see the oncologist, they test your hearing, they test your eyesight. They've been amazing. They've been amazing. It's been and again, it was, I journaled a lot of my cancer journey because some of it sort of became a blur as time went on. But the support that I had from my family, from my church family, from friends, and just leaning on the Lord every day. Just sometimes my prayer was just, help me, Lord. Help me today. Because there were days that were tough, right? I wasn't able to drive, so I gave my car to Adrian. I never knew if I'd even ever drive again, sort of thing. And then I
Hard doing that car back.
and then I went to drive when I finally, and in between that I was evacuated during the Sumas. Yes, I lived on the Sumas Prairie, so I went to live with Adrian prior to my surgery and lived there for 10 days, and then had my surgery in November and stayed there till December, I think it's the 5th or something, and then came home. And then a few days later, asked for my car back. And so that was kind of that story, I guess. But you know, and the day before my surgery, I went to church to watch my oldest grandson being baptized. And that's where you play mother, right? Because Adrian would say, I don't think you should come, right? Because she was concerned and worried, but I said, too bad. And I went. And then even afterwards, we do tree day, which to me is my favorite day. If Adrian said you can't come for Christmas dinner, I'd be fine. But when she says you can come for tree day, then I have to. So she said I couldn't come for tree. She didn't say that. She said, I don't think you should come for tree day. And I said, sorry, I'm coming. And so, you know, I did. I went with my walking sticks and the two oldest grandsons walking beside me to make sure I didn't fall over. Yeah, I was tired. I was exhausted, but I wouldn't have missed it. And I enjoy my family. I enjoy friends. I do card making. I scrapbook. Right now I'm driving Abigail crazy. She's actually just told me, after Christmas, Granny, we're just going to do special events, okay? And I said, sounds good. I said, that's fine, because at this rate, I'm going to need a new book every year. And, you know, at church, I serve on hospitality. I'm in the kitchen, where I usually mostly just slice and dice now because I don't get around as quickly. And I serve at the seniors group in Northview. And I work with the Imagine group, which is the special needs young adults at Northview. But I do and I attend church in Mission. But I do most of my other things, my Bible study and at Downs Road now, just because it's easier. I don't have to drive as much. So that's, I guess, about me. Adrian's now going to ask me some questions and try to keep me so I don't go down the rabbit trail, which I tend to do.
She likes to chat.
I love to chat. And if you were asking my favorite thing to do, it would be conversation.
And one thing I want to add is, when my mom was diagnosed with cancer, we were planning Abigail's wedding.
Oh, yes. I forgot about
And her big thing was, I just want to make it to the wedding. Because it was stage 4, and they originally, that's what they diagnosed her with, and that it was
advanced.
Advanced,
Yeah.
and I can't remember the other word they used. Anyway,
Yeah.
and so it was just Lord, get me to the wedding. And so she had her second chemo treatment the day after.
At 8 a.m. I said to my
The wedding.
oncologist,
Yeah.
please, I don't want to be sick for the wedding. I want to be able to be there. And she said, we will postpone the chemo then.
Yeah.
But she didn't tell me it was going to be at 8 o'clock the next morning. But that's okay. I got a beautiful wig, because I had no hair. And I got a beautiful, Ava took me to Langley, and I got a nice outfit.
Yeah.
It was fine. I took a +1 with me, my girlfriend from next door, because I didn't want family all worried about me. So it was a beautiful wedding and a beautiful day. And then I got selfish, and I thought, oh Lord, let me stay until I have a great grandbaby. And Adrian said to me, you're never satisfied.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Keep asking for those things, because you don't want to be done now that the baby's born.
I just keep moving on. That's it.
Okay, so my first question to you is to give us a bit of a summary about becoming a grandparent. What are your memories and reflections about that time?
Well, I was very emotional. I'm surprised. And I've got many special memories. I was able, for a while before Abigail's first birthday, Adrian and Jeff and Abigail came to live with me. And that was a wonderful time for me. I worked afternoons, so it was a wonderful time for Jeff, because he would come home from work and I'd be at work. And I mean, he's a wonderful son, but I tend to be, poor guy, like he'd go to make, and it wasn't quite finished. I'd be putting the bowl and the spoon in the dish. He would say, I told you, don't leave the stuff until you're done. So I'm sure that he was very happy, but it was a wonderful time. I felt that I got to really bond and enjoy them. I mean, this was way before I didn't know anything about homeschooling or what they were even going to do. And, you know, I didn't know. I loved being around them. I loved spending time. I would often go to Adrian's on a Saturday, and they would go, her and Jeff would go off for a date day, and they would always take the baby, whoever was the baby, and I would get to spend time. So we did a lot of, I did a lot of play dates even then, like when they were younger.
One of the stories I wanted to share about you becoming a grandma is a granny, you call her granny, is the smoking story. I want you to share that.
Oh my goodness,
I
really?
want her,
We're all intrigued now, actually.
Share her smoking
Thank
story.
goodness, if my grandchildren are listening, at least they
They
know the
know,
story.
yeah,
It's
they
not,
know.
they're not gonna go, oh my goodness, I can't believe Granny did that. I was a smoker. And Adrian was pregnant. And this actually is part of my story of coming to the Lord.
Oops.
You did. So Adrian, one day, I'm there, and we're having a day, and she says to me, I want to talk to you about something. And so that's fine. She says, when the baby comes, I really want you to be part of helping with the baby and looking after, but I do not want to know that you would ever smoke around the baby. I don't want to ever smell smoke. I don't want to ever go outside. Like you go outside if you're here with the baby to have a cigarette. And I honestly don't recall if I said very much to that, to her. If I did, she'll remember, but I don't think I said much. But I went home and I prayed. Now this is before coming to the Lord, but I knew Jesus, but I was not a follower. He was not my Lord and Savior, but I prayed. And that was March the 10th. Abigail was born in June the 12th. I never smoked again from that day that I went home. But I didn't realize that I had become a non-smoker. I was still working at the hospital, and we had a smoking room. So I would still go in there because I just kind of thought that's what I should do. And then somebody said, a friend, Nancy said, are you still smoking? And I said, I don't think so. But it was kind of like if you say you're not, then okay, everybody's going to be watching. So I didn't want to commit to that. And I never smoked again. Anyways, Abigail is born, and we're off. The four of us, Jeff and myself and Adrian, and I'm in the back seat with Abigail. I can't remember where we were going, maybe IKEA or somewhere. And I always think that they must have talked at home, and poor Jeff got the short end of the stick. So he said to me, Granny, yes, I've got a question for you. I said, oh, okay. And he said, do you still smoke? And I said, no. And he said, oh, I didn't think so. And that was the end of the conversation. That was the end of the whole topic. And I was a non-smoker as of March the 10th of that year. And Abigail was born. And it was just, yeah.
I love that story because it's a real testimony to my mom not being defensive.
Mm-hmm.
And, like that, in a lot of situations, that could have been like the fight is on, right? In a lot of families. And I love that story just because it just really tells all of you who she is and that she was just willing to think about it and to do that for us. And it just, obviously, it made life a lot easier. I didn't have to worry about that kind of
And
thing.
we did. I have all the grandchildren know.
Yeah.
And it's funny because they know, and when I told them the story, I'm like, really? Yes, I did.
What were your initial thoughts and feelings about your grandchildren being homeschooled? Like when we first came to you and said, they're not gonna go to school. They're gonna be these really weird kids.
Well, I guess first of all, I didn't have a clue what homeschooling was. I never heard of homeschooling. If I'd heard about it, I thought it was farmers like far, far away. They couldn't get to school. You know, the kids. I mean, that's who I was, right? And because of who I am, I thought, again, I don't think I said anything when I was told because I knew nothing. So I went home and immediately started to research what I could find out. And what I found out very quickly was that I could make this work for me.
I love it.
And I don't know if that's what I'm supposed to admit or not. But I did because I was already wondering when they go to school, what's going to happen with these play dates? See, Jeff he worked in Maple Ridge. I lived in Maple Ridge. He would bring them on. I would pick them up. And when am I going to see them? I mean, weekends, that's family time. I knew that just from using my brain. But I had all of this, and I thought, I bet I can still do train days. That's what we used to call them back then. Train days and play dates. And yeah, and you know what? To this day, I still have play dates with all of my grandchildren, even the married one, which I will be going to see tomorrow. And I get to see Adrian's grandchild, my great grandchild. And so and it was really, I definitely have to admit, I turned it into me. And you know, it's funny because I don't recall ever having any negative feelings about it. I didn't know anything, and I didn't know how I was going to be involved, or if I was going to be involved. I just knew that I could still have play dates and fun times, and so I did. And it was interesting because when we started to do the interview, and we were kind of going back and forth, Adrian said to me, she said, "Did you ever have any concerns that your grandchildren were going to be weird, you know, due to homeschooling?" And I immediately said, no. I did. I immediately said, no, I didn't think that. But then I realized after that I quickly answered that way too fast. And what I should have said was, if you mean weird by, you know what, they weren't going to have negative influences, or they weren't going to have dangerous peer groups, or they weren't going to be like the majority, or they were going to be left out of inappropriate activities, then yes, my grandchildren are weirdly wonderful. Absolutely. They are about as weird as you can get.
So other than time, more time, was there any other benefits for you then? For homeschooling, other than time, or is that the big one?
That was the big one. Because I didn't, that was really, for the beginning, it was that I could still do what I wanted to do with them
Right.
at the very beginning. I mean, we got into everything, because, as they went on, things changed, but,
Okay.
yeah.
So, what advice do you have for grandparents that are concerned, that don't like the idea that their grandchildren are going to be homeschooled? Maybe they just flat out even disagree with it. What
Well,
would your
I don't
advice be?
understand it, first of all, because I don't think that that's their role or my role. So I guess for me, as I've gone along and become a homeschool granny from the very beginning, along with, from Abigail, I like to think that I always showed an interest to build relationships with my grandchildren and obviously with my daughter, which is why we're here today, which was, you know, that was a work in progress. It took us a while, but here we are. And I never wanted to be outside of the family, right? So I always kind of tried to work at things that I thought would be helpful I always think that if you're a difficult grandparent, then you know what? You're not going to want your parent around. It's just so yeah. So don't be boundaries. So I didn't do well if I mean I can do normal boundaries, but I didn't want to do boundaries because I misbehaved. Right? I mean I can do boundaries. I understand about extended family, but I didn't want to do boundaries because I didn't participate in a positive manner. I don't know. So I always wanted to be an asset, not a liability. Much easier to be an asset than a liability. And you know what? If you do nothing else, I mean, you're all parents here, but you know, is to love your grandchildren's parents no matter what. I know that's likely not always easy, but you know, as believers, it's doable, it's necessary, and it's important. Being a grandparent can be hard. There's times that, sure, I would be disappointed, but I was part of the extended family, and they were always very gracious and kind, but there was times that I thought, oh, why didn't I get to go there? Why didn't I get to do that? But I don't think I ever verbalized it, and Adrian's likely going, oh, I didn't even know that.
Yeah, no.
Because it wasn't something, but I would pray about it, and I would deal with it, because there was so much that I was involved in. And just to not judge, just to love, and yeah. And when you're spoken to, which I have been spoken to, I don't think too many times, but I have been spoken to. And so just listen, pray, change, ask for forgiveness, and move on, because you don't want to hang on to those things, you know. I mean, there's been a few times that Adrian has had to say, you know what, Mom, when you said that, or you did that, or whatever, and yeah, so just hear it, because you're not the parent. I mean, I'm speaking as a granny, right? So I had my days of parenting, and so a grandparent role is totally different. And at the same time, don't overdo what you do, you know, because you can do that. Be careful not to overdo. But yeah, and I don't know, the bond that you develop, you all wait to have grandchildren, last you forever, for your whole lifetime, right? For your whole life, yeah.
So can you take some time to describe what you did specifically to support our homeschooling family? To give other grandparents an idea of what they can do. Because you were very supportive. Like, you definitely were an asset. And so describe what you did.
Well, I was a very practical homeschool granny. I'm a practical person. So everything I do that way. That's how I think. So what I did for years, up until actually, I guess, COVID, until I was diagnosed with the cancer, I went to Adrian's every Monday, and I would go early in the morning, and I would take snacks and dinner, and I would do laundry, and because that's what I enjoy doing, right? I don't speak a second language, I don't play an instrument, so there was nothing that I could do that way. And it was Adrian's day to, if she needed an appointment, or she just wanted to go for a walk, or whatever, I didn't need to be entertained. Those were days that sometimes it was a hello and a goodbye, like I didn't expect to have tea and a visit. The grandchildren, as they got older, I mean, I won't mention names, but one of the older grandsons would wait until I was there Monday morning, and he would bring down his laundry.
So
It
cool.
was a 6-hour turnaround.
That's intelligence right there.
And I would
Makes
have
for a
it all
beautiful
done.
relationship, because I might have a husband who is similar. And he loved his nanny so much.
Yeah. And so, and I just enjoyed being there. I mean, sometimes I would you know, whatever Adrian needed, whatever she needed, kind of as she directed. I mean, if she needed me to hold the baby, or she needed an adult, me to do something with one of the older children, or sometimes to read, but I will admit that I didn't do anything really academic. I learned by doing dishes and listening to her teach them math. I mean, I did advance. So that was, that was definitely important. I mean, I drove them to lessons, other than Mondays. That was my day, but I did other days were music lessons or swimming or just anything that I could do. I was happy. I helped in small financial ways, nothing extravagant, but in small ways, purchasing books, helping maybe to pay for the odd things. And I knew that Adrian and Jeff appreciated even the smallest of help, whether, financial or not. I don't know, a little bit goes a long way. Whatever you're attempting to do, just to start off small and just to help, right? Because you love your family and you see, I saw the benefits. Like I said, I knew nothing about homeschooling, but I saw benefits. I saw the benefits of them as they grew. And so because I was able to be there all the time, I mean, as Abigail grew and graduated, and then Grace grew and graduated, and Samuel. Only when I'm telling stories, right? And then Josiah, and now we're waiting, right? And so
And
she's
Ruth, Mercy, Daniel.
yeah.
I don't want to leave anybody else.
Yeah, exactly. And I did lots of. I mean, like I said, the training as far as excelling. I didn't speak a second language, and I don't knit. I don't sew. I don't.
Well, you
I
did
don't
card
crochet.
making
I
with
did
them.
card making
Yeah.
if they showed an interest. I love to play games, so 2 of them know how to play canasta. They all know how to play Quirko. We all play towel rummy, and I still play with them because if they're coming, they know that
It's kind of a requirement.
like if you're going to have dinner, I'll make you dinner. I'll do, but you have to play a game with me. So right, because I play even as an adult with adults, so it's what I enjoy doing. And I did help the 4 older ones learn to drive. I did do that.
Oh, that's a big
And
deal.
and actually they all said that for the first year after they got their license that they drove like Granny. And then they learned that there was other ways to drive. So yeah.
That was a real benefit when you're a large family and your kids are learning to drive and you're limited to how many people can be in the vehicle.
Yeah.
And not like you want all your kids in the vehicle with the it worked really well.
It did.
Yeah.
Now we've got one, she's studying the book, and I'm hoping that I get to do it with her too, because it was exciting, right? It was a wonderful time.
One word to describe that, for sure.
But it's different.
Mom's really
It's different. It's different. I didn't teach my children. Their dad did.
Okay.
Yeah, but my patience, I mean, that's a whole other story. I'm a much nicer and better granny and gran than I was a mom.
I just found, because I have an 18-year-old, and so I found it was just like a shot of adrenaline multiple times.
I mean,
that part got really hard for me.
we always put our kids through driver training, so it was kind of after
Okay,
they
yes. I would recommend that.
Once the actual instructor got them on the road, then that's when.
Yeah. Then I
So you know
Yes.
they were.
I will agree with that.
Yeah, they were a little bit because actually I even would struggle to get in a vehicle. It's tough. But yeah, there was something I was gonna say that you didn't mention that you did. It's gone.
Well, even simple things. I love to shop.
Yeah.
Adrian used to give me a shopping list
Yeah.
of clothes.
Like,
That's
yeah.
really
Not
good.
necessarily
Clothes.
grocery
Oh.
clothes, maybe she
Yeah.
was looking for, size 2, whatever,
Yeah.
shirt, and
We
so
need
lovely.
turtlenecks for whatever.
so
Or,
great.
and
yeah.
so I would go and I'd come
Yeah.
back and I'd give Jeff the bill and he'd pay me and
Yeah.
do
Maybe
some
he
Adopt
could
a
start
granny.
it. I was just gonna start a business.
I
called
think
Adopt a
we
Granny
need
to
to
have some
adopt-
grannies in line.
I'm sorry, I,
Amazon.
you know,
7 kids.
Yeah.
it's funny you say that because even just the other day, Grace, who is the oldest one that's at home, I wanted to make sure, I didn't want to, Adrian is grand, right? And this is her first role as a grand, and I remember how I was with Abigail, and I want all of that for her.
Mhm.
But I'm still here, and I'm Graham, right? Or
You're Granny.
I'm Granny, or they say Gigi, but I refer to myself as Granny. And I wasn't sure where my position was going to be, right? And I wanted to really make sure that whatever I did for Abigail and Silas was okay. And when I was telling Grace, she said, but don't forget, you're still our Granny,
Mm.
right?
Mhm.
So, yeah, I still get to do some things that I didn't expect I would do. But my priority is if Adrian needs to go out, say, to help, which I think I did
Yeah.
in the
you
beginning,
can. Wow.
then I went to mission so that she could go to be with Abigail and Silas. And that to me that's the love that I feel for my daughter and for my family.
Mhm.
Like I don't need to be, right? I just,
Like you were concerned you were gonna encroach maybe on what my territory would
yes,
be as the
yes,
grand.
yes,
And so you were just very mindful of
yes,
that.
yes.
And so then would offer, I'll come to be with your children so that you can go and be.
Because it's important. I don't want Adrian to miss out on all that I got to do with the grandchildren.
Mhm.
But I know it's different because homeschooling and programs, and I didn't have that. I had the freedom to just go and do and come and, right? And I can remember even with having the babies and Jeff would go back to work, I would come every morning. I remember Josiah was there every morning because I could do that.
Mhm.
And just to help with the others, not even necessarily to help. It's been a real wonderful time for me. Very grateful for it all.
What else? Oh, what time are we at? 'Cause
52. 7:52.
What?
We started a little late, to be honest.
Yes.
Yeah, we started late, you can go late.
I was gonna
And
say, it's only
quickly-
7:30. We're not in a
Cut them
hurry.
off online if you need to. We'll stay here.
We'll close it.
So I just had a few things that I wanted to talk about as far as support and help. There's nothing I would change about what my mom did. But every grandparent is different. And so maybe there are things that a grandparent might want to do other than what my mom did. And so my first tip for grandparents that really are interested in getting on board and being a support would be to de-school yourself. If you didn't, because some of,
Yeah, so true.
you know, like for me, I already homeschooled, so I'm not going to have to do that if Abigail and Michael decide to homeschool. But if you, the grandparent, went to school and your children went to school, from rest,
Mm.
it's a really easy read. It's thin. It's not very involved. And I think that would give you a real idea if you're a grandparent who wants to sort of deprogram yourself. This one, I think, also would be a really good one to help you see learning and intelligence and smarts in a whole new way. So we'll link these as well on the YouTube channel. this one would be a more involved read, but it's very good to just teach yourself what homeschooling is, what parents kind of their mindset, how they think about it. Like they're reading this kind of stuff, so it would just inform you. And then I haven't actually read this one, but this one is definitely on my list to read. I think this one as well would just help you as a grandparent understand what parents are trying to do at home. And so I think those would be good resources. What else? So, like my mom mentioned, she would sporadically, I guess, help financially. Sometimes I would be gifted a gift card. She was always really good at keeping up with what the kids were reading. So if there was a series that they were reading, they knew. I'm done book 3, Granny. So that was really nice. There were a couple of times where you said, you know what, if the kids want to do swimming lessons, how would I pay for it this time? There was a couple times, here's just, $50 and it doesn't have to be a lot. Like it literally can be knowing what series they're reading and then finding that series in a used bookstore, and it's kind of fun, and you show up with the next book. And so it can be really simple, or it can be more involved, like paying for a set of swimming lessons. Because what the grandparents have to remember is that a lot of times homeschooling families are operating on one income. It's very different than a family that has 2 incomes or even an income and a half, and there can be a financial strain. For what else do I want to say? Oh, I wanted to say that if you have a special interest, if you're a grandparent with a special interest or a special skill set, just teach that. If you like gardening, teach them gardening. If you like cars, teach them about cars. If you just are a Bible scholar, teach them that. And there's curriculum, there are resources. If it's something you know really well, you're not even going to need a resource. You're just going to bring your grandchildren alongside and garden with them and share everything that you know. And the parents will really appreciate that. Just to have one other thing that they don't have to do. Now, if you're like, oh, no, that all sounds good, I'm going to do that, but I also want to go to the next level and I want to get into some curriculum, I have just a couple of suggestions. We talk about Beautiful Feet a lot here, but I think this would, the Beautiful Feet resources, the curriculum, I think would be a beautiful resource for parent or grandparents to work through with their grandchildren. It's literature based. You could do science, you could do horses, you could do history or geography. It's reading them books and then choosing what activities you want to do. It's very simple and very beautiful. If you are more comfortable with something more traditional, you could also, there are so many resources that are just workbook based. And you could decide to help out with language arts or math, and the grandparent, you could do it. You could do it. If we can do it, you can do it. And it's step by step, it's open and go. But then there are really tiny workbooks too that you could go through. You want to teach about pioneer life or geography, do some mapping. There are really simple things you can do as a grandparent to get involved. I think buying gift cards to classical education books. We have physical gift cards now. We have digital gift cards, so you can buy those. I also forgot to grab it. It's over there. There's a read aloud keepsake book. It's a really pretty book, and you could do that with your grandchildren. Just read aloud to them, and then you just record the book, and I think, whether they liked it, some just basic thoughts about the book. Ah, there it is. Thank you, sweetheart. And so it would just be a beautiful keepsake for a grandparent to have. And even if you are from away, if you don't live close, you could still do something like this, because you can read to them. We have the technology, right? FaceTime or whatever. And I guarantee you that your grandchildren, it will be something that they treasure later on. If, there's that record of the books that the grandparent read to them. And I don't know, I think it would be a great resource for that. And so that's really all the questions I had for you. Were there final thoughts that you wanted to share before we go
Yeah.
into questions?
Okay. And actually, when you were talking about doing all of this, it's interesting because I have been able to go out to spend some time with Abigail on Fridays. I was going one Friday, and then I said, if you want me to ever come, just let me know. So she just kind of said, well, how about you, if you're free, why don't you just come Fridays for now? So, okay, so then I said, well, can I bring dinner? Right, I don't want to stay for dinner, but I wanted to. So the first day I brought something that I hadn't made before, and they said it was great, and that was fine. And then the next time she said, could you bring porcupines? So
It's
I
not
had
actual porcupine, just to clarify.
meatballs.
It's
rice.
meatballs,
Yeah.
But I
like with
used
rice
to
on
make
the
it
outside.
Yeah.
when I used to make the dinners. And so she said, do you think you could bring that? And I said, yeah, it's been years since I've made that. So I did. And then for tomorrow, she's asked for shepherd's pie, which I used to take because you had to take meals that were fairly easy. And then Michael texts later to say, and do you think maybe you could bring your
Beer bread.
cheese beer bread to go with it? So I said, well, you were fortunate because there was one tin of beer left in the cupboard. So that's what I'm making for tomorrow. And these are just, when I say that bond is forever, you have that bond. And there was lots of things that I didn't do. Like I said, I never went on a field trip. I never went camping. I'd go for dinner with them as long as I could go home at the end. I didn't plan a field day. I didn't go on a homeschool conference. There was lots of things that I didn't do. And I think if there was any regret that I might have, is that I didn't ask enough questions. Like I wish now that I didn't just go along. I wish I had encouraged, like I wish I had said more encouraging things like, wow, this is really great. Because I'm so practical in what I do, I just did and do and I continue. But I wish I had kind of more verbally said, wow, this is great. This is, it isn't all just about me. I mean, they did so well. Final thoughts, actually, this is not I totally copied this, but I had said to Adrian, I would like to read it. And it's about, it's being a grandparent is a little like being on a baseball team and being a relief pitcher. You could get called to practice and sit on the bench waiting. Then you're called up to play, and you are given instructions which you need to follow if you want to stay in the game. Simple? Yes. Simple? No. But word to the wise, seal your lips and just enjoy playing in the game as part of the team. Tread lightly, watch all the players. Remember, you are not in charge. Be prepared to be benched if you don't follow the rules of the game, or worse yet, being asked to leave the field. The home team captains are mom and dad. And I would like to think that I have respected that.
Yes, I would say absolutely.
And this I'm going to read to you, and tears are going to flow for sure, but that's just the way it is. years ago, I'm not sure how long ago, Adrian wrote this article, and I printed it off then, and I kept it. And this was what Adrian had written. And it was the end of her article. If your children have grandparents that help you pull your family wagon in the direction that you are trying to go, then give them a little extra praise. She thanked me and said she wanted to be just like me when she grows up and becomes a grandparent. Well, she and Jeff are now grandparents to Silas, and I'm excited to watch them come alongside.
So sometimes take advantage, and that was, I would schedule a doctor's appointments or whatever, so I didn't have to drag everybody. And so sometimes I guess you might also be in charge of lunch.
Yeah, I didn't bring lunch.
Like,
I
didn't
could- I
bring it. Really would depend on where we were at. Like if there was a newborn, for sure she would.
Sometimes
Oh,
I would help
gosh.
with the newborn.
Yeah.
Sometimes I would help with the older one.
Yeah.
I just, wherever Adrian needed.
Yeah. Sometimes, I mean, a few, 3, 4.
I didn't need to be, like I
The only
said. I
time
didn't
she
need
wasn't
to.
there is when she was traveling.
Yeah. And they
You know,
would
wake up on those Mondays.
You're like leaving on a Tuesday, coming home on a Sunday.
Yeah, and we got to go away a few times on little
Yeah.
trips together as a family.
Yeah.
And that was always nice.
But the Mondays, like they were
Set.
I could depend on them, and like I don't anticipate being able to do that. Like I mean,
Well, you still have kids. at
I
home.
still have children at home, and there are 7 of them.
Yeah.
So I don't anticipate being able to do that. Maybe I will do every other, like once they all are married and once they all have kids. I'm not sure what that'll look like.
You get January, you get February.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, we kind of, Jeff and I, like in our daydreaming, we think it would be nice to sell the house and have a motorhome and just go and park
Oh, you
in
have one child
different
for every day of the week.
driveways like throughout the year and just anyway, we've got that all figured, but who knows what the Lord will do. But
Yeah.
So everybody
but it,
needs
I
good
don't know, it
driveways.
was especially when I talk to friends who have no family around, I could have done it without the Mondays, but it really helped me as a mom. And I don't even think it would have to be a full day. I don't even think it has to be every week, but something you could bank on and you knew. Like it's funny, like knowing a day is coming, even if it was once a month, knowing that's my day that I can make appointments. Maybe my husband and I get to go out for dinner that night or whatever. If there was something to look forward to. So I don't even think it's about the weekly. It's just about the regular, and that you can anticipate it and count on it was a big deal.
Now then, for family things, is that so? Then that was the only time during the week with Granny. Like that was the Granny time, or do you guys have Sunday lunch for family?
There was
Or-
nothing else that was regular, like not unless
So
it
like
was
Thanksgiving, that would be.
Oh, we would have like
like
dinner and
birthdays or
birthdays,
yeah,
and I still would have one-on-one play dates.
yeah.
I would still be able to have somebody for a play date.
Yeah.
I mean, sometimes I'd see somebody during the week. They would come, and when I lived in Maple Ridge, like I said, Jeff would bring whoever.
On the train, it was like this whole thing,
It was a
right?
big deal. It was,
yeah.
and I'd pick them up at the train, and I had a car seat, and they would, and it was, and
Well, and on that note, I would say that is something that was key. Is you always had the gear.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
Like always the
Yeah.
gear,
Yeah.
and it just made life really easy. Like Jeff wasn't getting on the train
With a car
with the
seat
toddler and the
Mhm.
car seat.
and the booster seat.
Yeah, and you always had like the high chair was there, and the sippy cups, and the wipes, and the diapers, and I don't know. It just made
yeah, it was,
You
and
know,
it was
bringing your whole
natural for me
house.
because again, like I say, that's my practical thing. So to me, that was practical help, right? And I always feared that they would ask me to go camping. I mean, she did get to go camping as a child, but her dad had all. I just sat at the beach and supervised them in the water.
That's the best way to do it.
But they loved the camp, right? And so
Mhm,
that was
mhm.
great. But if it was at Roley Lake, yeah, I got to go for dinner, and sometimes I would bring dinner, depending if it was, especially if it was a Monday. But yeah, but no, I mean, when I think of some of the things that people could do, you know, like I say, even sewing or crocheting, all the things that I did none of that. But I chatted with my grandchildren continually, and Grace and I, we still chat, and I actually got to take her away last year just to Harrison for 3 nights, and the joke is, like, how do you two even talk? Because you likely talk over each other. But you know what, it's just what we do, and it's what I do. And somebody reminded me today that it's fellowship, because I said, oh, I don't talk too much, and she said, it's just it's fellowship.
Any advice for people on bringing grandparents involved? I both have grandparents are involved. My mom's a widow like you, and my in-laws who were initially not pro homeschooling, but now that my kids are teenagers, they're really excited about it, which is cool because they thought the kids would not care about grandparents, and they were happily surprised that they do. But anyways, any advice for people on being able to communicate well, say the things that need saying, keep short accounts, those kind of things that I'm hearing from your relationship?
Yeah.
Adrian communicates very clearly when there is something, and I like to think that I communicate very clearly when there is something. So let's pick Mother's Day, okay? So she is a mother of 7 children. I am a mother to 2 children. So in the beginning, you know, I will say that when I wasn't included in Mother's Day, like in the, you know, and it's the Hallmark Mother's Day, because you have people at church that you love dearly that say to you, are you going to Adrian's today? It's Mother's Day. Are you going to Adrian? Right? And I would say, no. And I would make some feeble excuse. It wasn't really a lie, but it wasn't totally the truth, right?
This is being recorded, just
Put on the internet.
But then, later on, I don't know exactly how it happened, but Ryan and Adrian got together, that's her brother, and I get to go with them together on a Saturday for lunch for Mother's Day. And my biggest joy is listening to them talk to each other. And last Mother's Day, after Adrian said to me, were you okay? Like, you hardly said anything, which is odd, right? And I just relished in the conversation, listening to them just talk away and enjoy each other's company. And so there we go. But was I, yeah. So there, but you know, there's always solutions to everything.
So I think on the boundary issue, so for me, at some point early on, like I think maybe there were 3 kids, maybe 4, I don't remember.
That's early.
Yeah. I would be quite disappointed with Mother's Day because I didn't get to do any of the things I wanted to do, and we were hosting, and I just found that not what I wanted to do. Like, it just simply wasn't what I wanted to do. And so we switched things up. And so I think on the boundary issue, I just have to really praise my mom. I think, yes, I know what I want. I speak clearly. I'm not a code talker, or, you know, you don't have to like read my mind or guess what I'm thinking. But I really give the praise to my mom, because when things like that would happen, where we would change and go, you know what, we're going to do it differently for Mother's Day. Or another thing we did was we claimed Thanksgiving as just us. It was just our family that lived in the house did Thanksgiving. we always do Christmas and birthdays and Easter, but we just wanted one that we weren't hosting or going, or we could just be a family. And my mom just always responded well. And even because I know now on the inside, the Mother's Day thing was a bit of a but externally, she responded really well. And she has shared with me that you'll see it in there in my journals after I go. I wrote about it. And
I write prayer journals.
but I think,
Tell the Lord.
but yeah, that's what she did, is she would take it to the Lord. It wasn't getting defensive or angry, or it wasn't making it about her. So I really have to, so I don't know what the grandparent situation is with all of you, but I really hope to pattern myself after that, that if, I don't know, if there's, I don't know, to just want so despeatly for that family to do well. Like, that's what I want. I only have one married, but I want Abigail and Michael and Silas to be good and strong, and I want that so badly that, and I know that part of being a strong family is just being them. They have to just be them.
Yes, because
Even
it's
for
like a
some of
wheel.
the special occasions. And so if you want that, I imagine, and I don't know because I haven't had to put it into practice yet, I imagine then that it's easier.
Do you have like pre ideas of, or because you guys did say your relationship was kind of tumultuous at the beginning, and how did you come around to being this practical, how could I support you? Because ideally I would like to be that as a grandma, like the same idea, like how can we support our kids so that they feel like that they're strong, and that like, even though you can't throw a bunch of money at them, but how can we like surround them, but obviously not squash them and oppress them, and like, this is how we do it in our family, which obviously I'm not that person, but what was your thinking or your thought process that got you there?
Well, we worked very hard together, and we would not be here today without the Lord, without the Holy Spirit guiding us. We were both, we're able to share and to talk. I can hear, like I can listen. I don't necessarily like everything I hear, and I'm not somebody that has to debate right away, right? Like, that's not my personality. My personality is, okay, I'm going to take that home with me, and I'm going to write it in my journal. I'm going to write all about it, because he's going to hear about this. And I'm going to ask for guidance. I'm going to ask for wisdom, right? And
Is this the type of grandma you envisioned yourself in, or did this morph over time?
over time. I mean, I think from the very beginning,